Hey everybody, welcome to J Stern Designs and welcome to episode 2 of JSD TV. Today what I want to do is show you how to make a quick gift for your favorite sewer friend or a bunch of sewer friends because it's such a super easy project to do. And what I want to show you how to do today is how to make pattern weights. And I know you've probably seen these, maybe you've made them yourself, these washers. I've seen these all over the place, and when I teach my workshops, I've seen various renditions. So like a single washer is fairly hefty, and you could use that to hold down lightweight fabric. So sometimes it's nice just to use them as they are in a single washer. But a lot of times I also have seen them glued together. You can take a stack of these and you can glue them together. That's a very cool kind of pattern weight. But I want to take it a step farther and show you some of the things that I've seen when I've taught workshops that people have done to embellish their glued together or stacks of washers to make really hefty pattern weights. All right, so the first thing is I got these at Home Depot and I thought I was getting the biggest size. I thought I was getting these. And the reason why I didn't get these is because I bought them by the box and the sizing was 3/4 of an inch. So I just want to explain to you, if you're looking for these washers and you're buying them by the box, which I recommend because otherwise it's expensive to buy separately. So you save a bunch of money if you buy them in boxes. When you see the 3/4 inch size, what that's referring to is the actual hole. Okay, so I can show you if I line this up with my ruler, you can see that the hole itself is approximately 3/4 of an inch, and that's how they get their sizing. So if you want these super big ones, the super big ones are 1 inch hole. Okay, so that's how the sizing works. And I decided since I got the wrong size that I would just stack them up one higher. So I made stacks of 5, which I thought made a really nice hefty pattern weight. The ones that are bigger, I did in stacks of 3. Okay, so you can kind of play with the weight of your, how heavy you want the weight to be. And depending on the kind of fabric you're working with, you might want a variety of sizes because you don't need a big honkin' pattern weight for really lightweight fabric. There's also this smaller size, like the 1/2 inch size. Okay, you can see it's significantly smaller, but it also is very hefty if you stack them. If you glue them together, I've used just plain Elmer's glue, but the thing is, it takes a while for them to dry. So if you're gonna glue your stacks together, I would do that and let them dry overnight because otherwise it's really yucky to work with. And then because I didn't remember to glue them last night before I wanted to work on my project, I realized that you could do the same thing just as easily with some strips of duct tape. So actually the first thing I want to show you is how to embellish these stacks of washers with duct tape. I used very thin strips of duct tape and I just taped them together. So you can see these were taped. You only really have to tape them in three places because it'll keep them from shifting. And this is really solidly, not shifting around. So as long as you wrap it really tightly, this is a really good way to do it. So basically I'm just going to show you, I'll just do one right here. Start with it flat like this and then just wrap it really tightly around, poke it through the hole and just wrap it like that. All right, so that's how you can hold your stacks together if you don't want to glue them. Now the first way I want to show you to embellish your stacks is to use a fancy duct tape. I don't know if you guys know, but duct tape comes in a huge variety of different patterns, colors, and even different kinds. Like this is sort of a holographic duct tape. And my friend Gail and I were having dinner and we decided to go to the dollar store to get some Christmas things to make Christmas decorations. And I saw this duct tape and I grabbed it for $1. And there's 9 feet on here, which is plenty to make a ton of these pattern weights. So you can see that's kind of shiny and fancy and it's really easy to do. So I'm going to just show you quickly how to do that. I think I'll do it on this smaller style. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some duct tape. This is another style I found, pink flamingos. So you can really find something that fits the personality of the person that you're making these for. So I think this is kind of cool. So I'm just going to cut off a piece. And the thing is, duct tape tears in both directions, so you're not going to need to cut all your strips. You don't want to work with really long strips of duct tape when you're using it to wrap a stack of these pattern weights, because otherwise it'll be hard to keep it from getting stuck on itself. So I have about 6 inches of duct tape, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it or tear it into 3/8 inch or narrower strips. I tried using a 1/2 inch and that was a little bit hard to get it to lay flat. So I'm going to try this 3/8 on this small one and see how it works. So basically I start by sticking it on the top, and I'm just going to shoot the strip through the hole, grab it from the other side, and actually if I fold the end over to make like a little point like that, that will make it easier. So I'm just going to shoot it through, and I'm just going to wrap it tight, and I'm just going to go all the way around like that. So see how I'm just overlapping a little bit? All right, so you can see how that's coming out. Isn't that cool? So I'm just gonna do a little bit more. And of course you have to keep in mind, if you're cutting little skinny strips, then whatever your pattern is, if you got it duct tape with pattern, it's really not gonna show. It's gonna show more of just, you know, sort of blocks of color, like a little design of color. But, all right, I'm just gonna go ahead and be honest, and I'm gonna tell you that this small size is really kind of a pain. Okay, so if you want to make these small ones for someone you really love, they're going to be extra special. I mean, they do come out, and clearly this would be really, really nice, but I was able to make this this one in such a small amount of time in comparison, because the hole is bigger to get the duct tape through. So you certainly can do this size, but keep in mind, because the hole is small, it's a little bit more challenging. Another way you can wrap them is to use strips of fabric. I just used a batik. I tore a strip that was about, you know, just maybe a little under an inch. Okay, and I just tore right across the fabric. I'll just continue on this one to show you. To get it started, just take a piece of duct tape, and I'm just going to tape it to the actual top of the stack to secure it like this. See how I did that? And then I'm just going to wrap. And I think, you know, using a pencil to push it through with this little hole, you can do these much easier than the duct tape actually. So see, I can just wrap these right along and just use your pencil, even the eraser side is good, to get it to go through. And just wrap right around. The idea is you want to wrap it really, really tight. I'll be able to finish this in just a couple minutes. All right, so we'll just finish this one up, and then I'll show you how to end it. All right, so see, this is sort of a half and half. When I get to the part where I want to end it, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a dab of glue, and I've just got it on a little stick here, like this, and I'm just going to rub it right inside where it's going to end, like that. And maybe I'll just put a little bit across the top here as well. I don't want to get too gluey, because then it gets to be a yucky mess. And I'm just going to wrap it right through like that, and I'm going to cut it so the tail will be inside. And I'll just use my pencil to really smooth that a little bit there. Okay, and I'll really rub it in with the pencil like this. And after that dries, that will stay secure. Okay, so that's how you do these wrapped ones. All right, now the other way I want to show you to do this, I thought this was really, really cool. And when I was down in Titusville, one of the ladies in the workshop had these, and I just thought they were really clever, and it was really the first time I ever saw it. She actually used a yo-yo technique to decorate the stack of washers, and then what she did was she put a button on top like that. So I thought those were really pretty, and they're super easy to do. So let me just show you quickly how to do that. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you need to have your stacks, again, have your stacks ready. And I've already done the math for you, so you won't have to figure out what size circle to cut your fabrics to make your yo-yo. So if you use these 1-inch diameter washers or the 3/4 inch, I stacked 5 of the 3/4 and 3 of the 1-inch. The cool thing about these two configurations is they use the same size circle. So basically what you're going to need is you're going to need a 5 3/4 inch circle. And let me show you a really cool, easy way to make a circle. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do to make my circle is I'm going to fold a square that's bigger than I need into quarters. So I'm going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to fold it into a quarter. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use my ruler, and I'm going to measure 2 7/8. Okay, that's going to give me the 5 3/4 when I open it up. So it's 2 7/8, and I'm just from the corner of my paper, I'm just going to make a line. I'm going to make a line 2 7/8 here, and I'm going to make one here. All right, and then I'll just make a couple extras in between the 3 I started with. So really I'm just doing this until I have enough of a line that I can actually cut on. So all of these dashes are 2 7/8 from the corner. And then instead of cutting out a circle, all I have to do is cut from here to here. All right, and I have a really cool circle. I mean, you can open it up and check it. Then the next cool thing is to get my fabric circles, I can do the same thing. So I can fold my fabric into quarters and just leave this quarter-wise, and then just cut that to match. So this is just another easy way just to get an easy circle to use for a yo-yo. All right, so after you do that, the next step is to stitch a row of gathering stitches around the outer edge. Now you want to be about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of your fabric, and you want to use a small stitch. So I'm going to use a 4mm stitch, not a huge, not a big basting stitch, sort of a little bit longer than you would actually use to sew an actual seam, because the smaller your stitches are, the more it will gather up, more evenly it will gather up, and you won't have big gathers, you'll have nice little gathers. So I'm just going to sew. And the other thing that's really helpful is if you put a different color in your bobbin. So I'm putting black in the bobbin and tan in the top, because it's easier to gather your threads if you use the bobbin thread. So I'm just going to stitch around the circle. Now when you get to the end, overlap your stitching, but don't stitch on, just stitch right next to where you started. All right, so you can see here I've sewn around my circle, and at my start and stop point, I actually overlapped the area, but I didn't stitch right on top. Okay, so that's how you sew the circle to make your yo-yo. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna stick your stack of weights right in the middle, and I'm simply going to tighten this up. And again, I'm just going to pull my actual bobbin thread. So I'm pulling, and as I pull, I'm going to sort of spread it across the edge a little at a time. See, I can do one at a time. So I did a little bit on that side, then I'll do a little bit on this side. You can see it gathers up really fast. Now, when I've got the whole thing gathered so I can still get in there relatively easy, the next thing I want to do is stop and put some glue along the inside of the stack. And that's going to allow me to stick my fabric there once I tighten the yo-yo. And I'm just rubbing right along the top corner and inside, and a little bit along the top as well. Okay, you don't need to gob up the whole thing, just put a little bit in there. Okay, and then once you've got your glue in there, then you can finish tightening this down. Okay, and once you've got it nice and tight and gathered, you're going to push the gathers into the edge, into the hole. Okay, so see how they're in there? And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to stick something in there to hold it from coming out. And I actually have these little brass pattern weights. I'm just going to shove it in there, and I'm going to let it stay like that until the glue dries. So see, I've got it in there and it's holding it all nice and taut. So really anything that you can find that's about, you know, an inch or a little less than an inch in diameter, you can use to smooth that in there. You can also hold it with your fingers for a few minutes until it starts to, you know, dry. Okay, so see, it makes that kind of shape. See how that looks? So the next step is to find a button and stick it on top. I have all of these random buttons from my grandmother, and what she would do is she would cut off buttons that she had from clothes that she bought. So like this button doesn't even have, it's the kind you have to sew in the back. But it would be perfect for this, because then what you're going to do is you're just going to glue that right onto there. And it will make this really pretty pattern weight. So, you know, and depending on the size you're doing, so here's another one. I'm going to use this button on this one. So I'm just going to glue that in place. Of course, you could also, if you wanted to be fancy, you could glue a button onto these fabric wrapped ones as well. So you could make these pattern weights as fancy or as utilitarian as you want. So depending on who you're making these for, you know, some people are no nonsense, no frills. Maybe they just want them glued together. You know, maybe some metallic duct tape would be the answer, you know, or you can color coordinate with different fabrics. So these are really, really fun to make. You could make a whole slew of them in, you know, a few hours. And I have to say, like, I didn't want to start filming my J Stern Designs episode for this because I just wanted to keep playing and trying different things. So I'm sure I could come up with more ways to combine things and be creative. But all right, so you can see that you could really make a wide variety of different style pattern weights depending on who you're making these for. They'd make a great gift, and you know, they're personalized. So I think this is fun. There's only minimal sewing required. And now you know the dimensions of the circle you need to make your yo-yo, so you could make those really fast. All right, so that's my holiday sewing project today. I hope you enjoy making these. All right, so Thursday I'm going to show you how to make a moisturizing hand scrub that's really, really nice. So whether you're a sewer or not, this makes a wonderful gift. And I actually have to credit my friend Amy, who I work out with at the gym, because she's been making so many cool handcrafted gifts for Christmas that I'm sneaking that one from her, because, you know, she described some of her recipes and they just sound wonderful. You know, the scents are wonderful, and I just think it's a really cool thing, you know, to take care of your hands. So on Thursday, I'm going to show you how to make a hand scrub, and that will be a really fun, easy gift you could make at the last minute as well, because as you know, Christmas Eve and Christmas is next week already. So if you have any questions about making these pattern weights, please post a comment below or visit my blog at J Stern Designs. All right, so I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you for Quick Tip Thursday.